It's revolution. I was born with a resolution. I'm a farmer. I am a soldier. I just want to be free, but that's with me. You see that I'm gonna I am a rebel. I am American. And when it needs to be, you wait to see, you know I can. There is no enemy that is too strong for me. I'm Georgia, democracy, work my way in victory. A son of Washington, daughter of Jefferson. And though I always take the way of people, wear my gun. I'm not afraid to fight. For all the fear and right. And if it's what I'm needing, you will be an awesome mighty. I am a rebel. I am American. And when it needs to be, wait and see, you know I can. I fight for liberty against our tyranny. From foreign lands of close at hand, he's on my enemy. The stars inside, and you were right. And God accepts the vision of our future's bright. Don't want a handout that no one cares about. Just want a chance to see what liberty can do for me. And now I stand on hallowed land. No going back, we will attack like we will stand. 'Cause I'm a rebel, I am American. And when it needs to be, you wait and see, you know I can. 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 American.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American. I'm your host. I'm Clay Douglas. My guest today is Carl Swenssen. And Carl, do I have you or are we working?
Well, kind of, sort of. If you wouldn't mind, let me hang up and have you dial back in so I can get you on another computer.
I'll do that. Call you right back.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to be talking about a few different things today. But Carl is very big an activist, and I've been doing this for 20 years. And Carl's website, here, let me bring some of this up. Okay, I don't have that. A problem with the call. Hold on, we've lost the call. Just a moment. Do I have you, Carl? Okay. Testing.
Yeah, you got me, but you may want to call me on the landline. This is I'm not really comfortable with this internet right now.
I'll call you on the landline.
That'll work.
All right. Where we got him there? View profile. Okay, where we got him here? Yeah, working on this. Hopefully, we can get him up. Add people to this call. Where the hell is it here?
All right. I think if you couldn't get through on that one.
I can't find your damn mobile number. If you want your local number, if you want to call me back, I can add you that way. But
okay, it's in Skype right now, so you see it there?
Yeah, well, I see you. I got you up here.
No, in the message, the instant message.
Okay, yeah, I got that. I'll call you right back.
Okay.
Well, my computer is not working well either, so let's see what's going on here. Okay.
Now, is this any better?
All right. Well, it sounds okay, and it's working, so I can hear you.
All right, that'll work.
And it looks like everything else is working.
How are we doing this morning?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. You know, I kind of go. It's like I've have mood swings here. I get on the computer and I read and I read and I read, and sometimes I get a little depressed because there's not a lot of good news out there. And then other times I see things that are really hopeful. And part of the problem is, I've always been the loner. I've always been the eternal stranger. I've been to 49 states, 9 countries, and I go in and nobody knows me. Nobody knows who I am, and sometimes I'll get established. Sometimes I'll stay there for a few years. People get to know me, and then because of what I do with this radio show, the books I write, the magazines I publish, I've got more enemies than I got friends. And the little song, Don Henley's song, runs through my head. I met the enemy, and he's us. Now, I've been talking for the last week and dedicated the last week to talking about this Operation American Spring that Colonel Harry Riley is putting on. General Valley is advocating that too. So I thought, wow, we got some generals here, we got some colonels, we got some military men that starting to see our side of things. Veterans Today, Gordon Duff is on my show on a regular basis, and I think he is a genuine patriot. He honors his oath. He does Veterans Today. And of course, you get people that slam him because he's done this, he's done that. And I've got other people on my show that I respect, that I like, that have put out some good information about this war that we're in, and I believe we are in a war, and it's an old war. It's thousands of years old probably, but just to move it up recently, one of our mutual friends has been putting out information about what FDR did in the 30s when he stole all of our gold, forced us to turn our gold in at $16 an ounce, and boy, if we had all that gold we turned in, our fathers and mothers turned in, we'd be in pretty good shape. But then you've got, I took an oath to defend the Constitution, but more the planks on the Communist Manifesto are intact in America today. Every plank, probably in more effect than the Bill of Rights. So who is on our side? Who is with us? Who do we turn to? Who do we got for, I've had my families, I've had my neighbors, I've had my doctors turn against me. They wanted to drug me. They wanted to, get guardianship. He's got this bump on the head, and he may never be right again. And when that comes from your own family, it talk about destabilization. I've been pretty much destabilized for 10 years, just starting to bring things back together and get a clear focus. And I've been kind of promoting this whole March on Washington. We had 1 million bikers that go to Washington. I said the only mistake they made was not staying and not arresting the, what I consider traitors like Obama, who should never, homosexual druggie that they put into in as president. Media did that. So the media is our enemy, and that's why I started the Free American radio show and magazine, and still got the magazine going. So it's like being in an episode of Twilight Zone. Go ahead.
It's all by design, Clayton. All by design. You talk about the bikers having gone up there, and it's a nice show, but they directed to take something with them, and that is a plan on something to do. And anytime you go up there for the purpose of addressing, demanding, which is all we should be doing is demanding from them, you got to do it in form of a declaration. And they did not bother to write up a declaration and serve it to them. I will be making that request of Colonel Riley, for sure, because I think he's got that on his agenda for things to do. I truly do. But yeah, it's out of control. It's up to us to fix it, and they have stacked the deck against us by virtue of everything that's been put in place by the what we call them Democrat and receptacles or something like that. I don't know whatever you want, but the party system hasn't served this. Washington acknowledged that it wouldn't serve us. You got to see every point that's like you said at the manifesto in place right now. And I think there's a little part of the mix of the ingredient that people need to consider. And that was a meeting that occurred between Stalin and FDR. That meeting laid the groundwork for what was going to have to happen. And it is also part of the Communist Manifesto, but I guess he just back to that. When asked how to control the public, and it is all about control of the Thurs, he's told, well, it's simple, you just have to break up the family, which was accomplished by keeping the wages so low that you had to have both people working. And get rid of religion, which, as you know, this is more than anything else a spiritual war. And since religion has been so demonized, you can't even utter those words without drastically offending some other member of that segment of the population. So the divide and conquer aspect, well, it's just, it has worked just perfectly for them. Every time there's a group that forms that is well-intended, in no time at all, it is infiltrated, it is demonized, and before you know it, they disband. And every group that I know of that has been involved in patriotic movements has either been subverted and allowed to continue, or if not subverted, has been destroyed. And that's the message that you're going to have to continue to pound out there. That none of us are alike. That's the unique nature and the wonderful thing about America. We are a melting pot. We're all sinners. And there's nobody that should feel comfortable casting stones at one another. So, no matter what, if you are a threat to the status quo, if you are a threat to the system, oh yes, you will be demonized. Oh yes, you will be marginalized. And in the end, they will accomplish what they accomplished in the 30s. You will be conquered. Clayton, that's the story. That's the message. We have been conquered. It can be read no other way. And the way they do it is, the rest is so doggone evil. It would be just incredibly effective. What a plan. Not a shot was fired. And an entire nation is conquered. We are the soft dictatorship working under the flag of communism. And nobody is the wiser. How does that work?
Well, it's I can remember Khrushchev pounding in the UN, which was a communist organization, and he predicted exactly what's happening right now. And it was happening back then. I had another friend of mine that was talking about, said he saw this film, sent it to me, about what would have happened if Hitler had won. What would have happened if Germany had prevailed in this war, if America hadn't got involved? Somebody did a film on what it would be like. He said, we should do that about the Zionists. We should do that about the Zionists. I said, well, we can't, because they did win. I mean, the only reason the Soviet Union broke up was to give more communist countries, say, a voice in the UN, which was communist from the outset, from Alger Hiss on. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was absolutely a traitor. Some of my best friends are communists. And McCarthy...
Don't even know it. And don't even know it. That's the interesting part about this. What we've got here, I've been searching for a term for this. And when you go back and forth through various points in history, especially a couple of them here in the past 100 years, or the Stalinist regime and Hitler. And there are a couple of common features that people would be paying attention to. And the common feature is that there was a mass calling.
There was what? Repeat that?
Okay. We know that millions lost in both the regimes. And we know that that is by design. Absolutely by design. So if you come to the conclusion, as many of us have come to, that we are living under a dictatorship, and that we are living under a communist flag, then the only thing you can do is look over your shoulder and say, all right, when do they begin to color? And the signs are there. The signs are there for you to know. Because what happened just before Stalin did his and Hitler did his little exercise into the macabre, well, they took away the guns. Which leads me into what I'd like to talk about here real quick.
Okay.
And that is the three methods that we as Americans thought we had in order to institute a revolt against an out-of-control government. The first one is called secession. Secession. What happens if any state utters those words today? Well, quite frankly, they're slapped back down into their place, their place in the pecking order. And that particular thought is lost real quick. Why? Because secession, as an option, was permanently removed as a means to effect the change by Lincoln. He instituted the Beaver Code, which brought us the martial law, basically codified the law of necessity, gave it a new name, and called it emergency powers. That's how they're moving today. The second option that we had was a tax revolt. Starve the beast. You've heard that term used many times. And the problem with that is, well, FDR took care of that one by instituting the income tax. With the gradual removal of funds from your hard-earned labor, you're less likely, matter of fact, you're not likely to be involved in any kind of tax revolt. So, there went that option. And then we get to the final option. And by the way, there's a curious feature to these things. Something that we're going to have to, at some point, address. I have my understanding, and people out there that are thinking people should try and figure this one out themselves. And that is that there appears to be, at play, 70-year cycles. In the 1790s, when the Constitution was ratified, push up around 70 years, and it moves up to 1863. That's the time the Beaver Code was instituted, and the Civil War was being waged. 70 more years brings us to 1933. That's when Roosevelt came into office. And that's when the beginning of the end of that second option was put in place. And then we got another 70 years. This time not quite as clear to see. But that brings us up to 2003. What happened in 2003 that could possibly affect it? Oh, yeah. I think that was when the Patriot Act was put in place, was it not?
Yes, sir. So, actually, they had that already written, ready to go before 9/11/2001. And they started killing people off in 2001. They killed my friend Bill Cooper, who was telling people this is coming.
And what that's doing, or what it has done, it has put this foreign and alien form of judicial system on steroids. You've got thousands upon thousands of statutes out there, meaning that at any day, at any moment in time, if you are on the list, can merely sift through all of these statutes, and they will come up with one that applies to you. And it will be a serious infraction, and you will be incarcerated. No problem whatsoever. That's total control over us that was declared. So with the Patriot Act being implemented in 2003, the final aspect, the final piece of the puzzle, gets its basis for being implemented. And you see it going on all around you today. You turn on the radio station, on talk shows, and if you listen to the mainstream media, television, and printed news, that'll help you. But when you hear guns, blah, 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 guns, blah, guns, blah, 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 guns, blah, guns. Every media person out there is parroting the same thing. It's not a statement. It's not that's not a call for anything to happen. It's just guns and evil. You have no need for those evil things. Just need to give them up. We'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of you. Yeah? Yeah, they'll take care of us. Just like Hitler had his concentration camps. My goodness, really my. Hitler has their concentration camps. All over the country. All set up, ready to go. For every piece of the puzzle's in place, and it's just waiting for implementation. And the only reason, to my understanding, that they have not gone through with the implementation already is because those that are doing the raping and pillaging in this country are done. There's still some more wealth that they can drag out. So they want to sift through all the remaining scraps, pick through them, and take whatever is left. Whatever gold, whatever silver, whatever souls they can reap. That's where they're at right now.
Well, you know, that is what's happening, and I've seen this happen. I wrote novels about this almost 50 years ago, 45 years ago. I was in one of those concentration camps. I did get put in there, and it was a war. I was in a war. I didn't know I was in a war, but it was a war on drugs. And we've had more Americans put in jail, in prisons. So these and work camps, concentration camps, every prison out there, every private prison, every federal prison, that's slave labor. It's what we accused China of doing when we were trying to take over China or put down China. And that's going to come back and bite us in the ass. I'll get into that later. They're cornering the world market on gold. But they turned us into a police state. Ayn Rand told us 50 years ago the government has no control over honest citizens, so they got to make criminals out of us. That's what the war on drugs is, the taxes, the whole tax IRS. It's a police state. And if a man with a badge can come up to you and arrest you for something you got in your pocket, something that God gave you, I'd say that means you're in a police state. That not only did they criminalize the number one cash crop in America, so this was an attack on our farmers, this was an attack on our monetary system. You could pay your taxes for 100 years in this country with hemp. Our founding fathers grew it. So, to me, this war on drugs was the first war. The war on terror is a war against anyone, anywhere in the world, including right here in the United States, of anyone that doesn't want to go along with one world government of the bankers, by the bankers, and for the bankers. It's getting worse right now because we warned 20 years ago, 15 years ago, about the FEMA, what FEMA was going to become, what it did become after 9/11. these FEMA camps are being used right now, in use right now, because they made it illegal to be homeless in America. Well, in state by state, it's different in every state. And we do have, a bright side on the horizon. We've got one state, maybe 2 or 3 states, that are repealing the laws or abolishing the laws against hemp or marijuana or victimless crimes. Colorado remains a bright star in America's future, I think. But these FEMA camps are being, so they're rounding up, they made 1 million people, 1 million American families were made homeless over the last 2 years. And today it's against the law to be homeless?
Well, what does it take? What does it take to wake up a sleeping giant? The soft words of the conqueror never rang with any effective measure. It did not do anything to inspire action on the part of the American public, who should be, as we speak right now, in the streets with their, figuratively speaking, pitchforks and torches. Realistically speaking, all the weapons that the government wants to take away from it. This is at the time it's really well past due. It's words like this that came from FDR during his inauguration speech, which should have really woken people up. And let's see, we are, I know, ready and willing to submit our lives and property to such discipline, because it makes possible a leadership which aims at the larger good. Right down in the Communist Manifesto. The common good. Folks, I don't know about you, but when I look around at my fellow man, by and large, what I see are people that I had a hard time coming to terms with them as far as giving a name. They call themselves Americans, and yet they seem to be the walking dead. They seem to have every attribute that Hollywood has put on that group called zombies. But it's more because back at the turn of the 20th century, those that controlled the money openly, forcefully admitted that they also controlled the media. And soon after that, the money-hungry Hollywood crowd was an easy conqueror, and they had the movie industry. So, every method and means by which news could be put out there and generated, which is the direct control of the youth owners that have the wealth here in this country. So, all they needed to top that off, so to speak, was to infiltrate the minds. Get into those minds full of mush, like Rush Limbaugh likes to call them. And with the communist influence in the professorships of the Ivy League and then sports across the country, the curriculum changes. History, the way it's taught, changes. Everything, the way it's taught, changes. Now they have complete and utter control over our lives and the fate of this nation. So I keep looking for the terms, the words to use to try to explain it. And what I came up with was, let's look at the description. That's M&Ms. M&Ms. With that. Well, they are manipulated, neutered, Morons. That's what they are.
Well, they don't call it, they don't call television programming for nothing, do they?
No, that is absolutely correct. So let's take that apart for a second. Manipulated, well, we've already gone over that.
Okay, let me make a statement here real quick. 45 years ago, I wrote about what I envisioned to be the perfect answers, the perfect solutions in the United States to really become the land of the free. And one of the things I wrote, it's basically a science fiction story about a leader who came in with money, had plenty of money, that abolished all the laws against victimless crimes and really put America back on its feet, reinstituted the whole hemp industry, closed down the prison systems in 46 states. And it was really science fiction at the time because when I wrote the book, I was doing, I just narrowly escaped getting a 99-year prison sentence in Texas for a little bit of pot. Today, we've got 20 states where you can carry, you can smoke marijuana. If you bribe a doctor, you can smoke marijuana without going to prison. So somewhere in there was something, and one of the things my character did to achieve this was take over a movie studio and started producing really patriotic and sensible films, 180 degrees from reefer madness. But go ahead. The floor is yours. I'm getting more coffee.
It's not like everybody hasn't come to the same, everybody that's been paying attention hasn't come to the same conclusion. Of course they have. We understand where the problems come from. What we don't understand is how to motivate that and literally wake up that sleeping giant to get this changed, to do something about it. But just because we have that fact to hand, which I do right now, I'm sitting here staring at them as we speak. Just because you have the facts at hand doesn't mean really squat. It's what you do with them. And to that end, I want to announce that the call is being made right here and right now for every, and I mean every, internet-based alternate media, those that may have made it over the airwaves, blog talks, blog programs, everybody that considers themselves to be a patriot at heart, an American, who believe in the rule of law, a de jure, lawful government, come together for one moment in time on the 10th of April, wherein a press release is going to be put out there, and it will be coming through one blog talk program that they can tie into, and then others can branch off of that. And I'm going to be working with Keith Brothers from the Constitution Club, .ning.com. I'm going to be working with them to try and arrange this with that show. So then we put the press release out there. What we have to do, what the communists have done, we have to put aside the divisive, combative nature that we have been drilled into our psyche. We've got to put that aside long enough to come together for one reason, and that is to show the unity, show the support for the action that is going to restore this nation. Yes.
What we're up against here is the whole divide and conquer, the oldest maxim in warfare, divide and conquer. Well, we can't deal with him. He's a Republican. We're Democrats. We can't He's we can't let him into the meeting. He's a Baptist. He's a Baptist. They don't believe in dancing. You know, I'm a Methodist. I'm a Methodist. I'm a you know. Hey, listen.
I care not for those people. I care not for those people. They care not for me or my country. I care not for them. I care only for those who have the resolve, who have the desire to effect a change that is going to save, literally save, their sons, their daughters, and their grandchildren, their progeny. Those are the ones I care about, because that's what this is about. You are watching right before your eyes the destruction of a process that would have maintained a lifestyle that constitutional republics afford you. So if you want to play those games, if you want to be a member of the divide and conquer crowd, you are the enemy. We do not have time for that. They're knocking at our door as we speak. The jackboots. And if you want to use cute little words like, they'll get my gun when they try it from my cold, dead fingers, well, guess what? They will try it from your cold, dead fingers without any problem. And I hope that makes you very, very happy going to wherever you decide it's going to be that you're going when you move from this plane. Because, Franklin, if you're not part of this solution, you are, in fact, the problem.
I have met the enemy, and he is us. You know, you're absolutely right here. You're absolutely right here. And on the flip side of it, you know, I've kind of alluded to the fact I think God's alive and well on the internet today. 21st century, of course, God had used the internet. And the solutions to all of our problems are right there at our fingertips. I've got stories up on my Facebook page that address a lot of the problems we have. Part of the problems we have are the food, the energy. They've monopolized that. Remember what Rockefeller said? You know, competition is a sin. But the answers are there. I've just ran across a company yesterday. I got a call into them. Hopefully they'll get back to me. But it's just a corporation. It's just a company that a gentleman by the name of Paul Lightfoot put together. And it's called Bright Farms. Bright Farms. This is American ingenuity at its finest, American industry at its finest. We've talked about the problems with Monsanto, with the GMOs, and it's worse than that. With NAFTA, they shifted a lot of our farming. They've gone after the first thing that a communist regime does, go after the farmers, and the small farmers today, since the Depression, have gone down to something like 2% of the population. Corporate farms is the ninth plank on the Communist Manifesto, but this gentleman, Lightfoot, has created farms almost over a half a dozen in 6 states. They are doing farms on the roof of the supermarkets. On the roofs of supermarket chains, they are setting up farms. To me, that was
You're talking about the after. What happens after? How we can take care of ourselves. Okay.
Yes.
At this point, we need to stay and remain focused on the immediate problems, and there are two. A, we have to get rid of this Leviathan that is destroying our every action. B, we have to address the money issue once and for all, or at least address it to the point where we can maintain a social structure, but get away from the credit-based system that we have had in place probably since the beginning. A credit-based system that is meant to enslave us and has. It's meant to steal the wealth of the nation, and it has. These are the things, those two issues right there are the things that we need to talk about and do something about. And then, and only then, can we even consider the prospect of having our own lawful, legal, whatever you want to call it, farms at home, be they stock gardens, be they aquaponics, you name it. We have the technology. We can build it. We can make it strong. That is not the question. The only question is the resolve to do it. And if we cannot wake up these manipulated, neutered morons out there, if we cannot do that, this is the end. The federal election has exceeded the clear bounds of its jurisdiction under the Constitution, and it has violated our rights. It has violated our rights. These are treasonous offenses occurring in front of our noses every day. Offenses that, in years gone by, would have dictated the gallows or any other means of public execution. And I don't care what you may think about those particular means and methods, but let me tell you what. The first politician that is drawn and quartered with his head on a stake somewhere at the perimeter of the D.C. perimeter is one hell of a message, my friends, one hell of a message. And as barbaric as you may think it is, barbarism is what's conquered this country.
I think it's an excellent idea. I think that also may tie in with my whole thing on hemp. The reason they outlawed hemp is they were afraid we were going to use a hemp rope to hang them with. And, as far as I know, the treason is still punishable by hanging. And we do need this. And it doesn't take 10 million people in Washington. All it takes is 12, an honest jury, and a judge, a good common law jury, based on our Constitution and our Bill of Rights here, and we can put some of these people in prison and make an example of them. We've been putting the wrong people. We've been putting the peons, the poor people in prisons for a workforce, while these fat cats sit up there with their multi-billion-dollar bonuses. And that's a whole nother, series. We could do a whole series. I just went through a film here, or a discussion about what's happening in China. China has bought up the gold. They are going back on the gold standard, and it's going to bring America down, since America stole the gold and frittered it away. I guess we may be in the situation here that China and Russia, the BRICS nations, are the good guys trying to restore some type of sanity and some type of honesty to a monetary system. That's happening too.
Well, yes, it's happening. But you mentioned something a moment ago when you say America stole the gold and silver. No, America did not steal the gold and silver. The DC crowd, the corporation, stole the gold and silver, and its owners and puppeteers stole the gold and silver. And that group is comprised mainly of at the upper regions, the original families that control the wealth here, and also the bankers. Excuse me, not all of them, but some of the upper level bankers. And then, of course, our good friends, the titled lawyers, esquires. You see, folks, when we're conquered, yeah, we live in a world of communism. Yeah, we live under a dictatorship. Yes, the Constitution has been suspended. You can read this no other way. And yes, the center of power for the group that controls us is the very center that we fought a revolution against to allegedly gain our freedom in the 1700s. That's right. And shipped it back to London. So, thank you. But I want to give you something here that you can look at and understand. We're going to talk here. We're going to look at evidence. And let me give you some evidence real quick. And based upon FBI's Proclamation 2039 on the 6th of March of 1933, Congress passes the Emergency Banking Relief Act. 38 Statute, Law 1, thereby amending the notorious World War I Statute Trading with the Enemy Act of October 6, 1917. 40, Statute 1, 411. TWEA, Trading with the Enemy Act. Codified as 12 U.S.C. 95B and 50 U.S.C. Appendix 5B, thereby approving and confirming Proclamation 2040 and bringing the Trading with the Enemies Act, where it had been everything beyond our shores, it brought it inland and imposed a military-style government. Now, how? What visible indications do you have that the military government is operating on our soil right now? Well, folks, that's an easy one. Try going up to Washington. Oh, better yet, going to your local city council and then going to any courthouse in the nation. And take a look, friends. Take a look at the flags that they fly. Those flags are gold-fringed. Gold fringe is denoting military. They fly the conqueror's flag. They wave it under our nose, and we do nothing. We do nothing. We've been conquered. We've been conquered once. How many more times do you want to be conquered? Or do you just want to wait for the culling? And they've announced what the culling is going to look like. Some of you that have maybe become a little bit more enlightened are familiar with something called the Georgia Guidestones. Georgia Guidestones. Look it up. That is the world group, the world power telling you what they want. They want a world where there is no more than 500 million people throughout. 500 million. And we are over 6 billion right now? Gee, that is a pretty serious calling right there, isn't it?
I would say so. And, you know, I've tried to point out to people that when Stalin took over, Uncle Joe, as Roosevelt called him, he murdered 60 million white Christian Russians. They tried to demonize the Russians, back in the 70s. The Russians are coming, the Russians are coming. The Russians weren't our enemy. They were just more victims of this whole New World Order plan that they've been planning for thousands of years. And they may have killed more. They may have already killed more Americans. There's more veterans from Vietnam vets have been killed, have committed suicide since they got back to America than were killed by the Vietnamese. More than 50,000 have committed suicide. So they're still killing us. And, of course, in Vietnam, they gave us Agent Orange. In Iraq, they gave us depleted uranium. So they're still killing us. They're still demonizing the veterans. And you think about how many old folks are being killed by this pharmaceutical industry. Hell of a lot more people have died from doctor-prescribed medications then
that's where the term neutered comes into play in my M&Ms. Capital M, little m, capital M. Neutered. How are we neutered? We're neutered pharmaceutically. We're neutered by the drugs that we ingest, given to us by the doctor's profession. We're neutered by the drugs that we ingest in our food and in our water. We are neutered by the stuff that they're spraying in the air every day. It is a never-ending onslaught. And we are so weak and pathetic. Maybe by virtue, I'm just giving you an excuse when I say moving. Maybe it's just that maybe still do have their falls, okay? Maybe they do. But they're afraid that maybe isn't. Maybe they still have their testosterone. Maybe they do, but they're afraid to let it do its natural work. Nature is being completely turned on its heels. And you do nothing. This is worse than this is the worst condemnation against a society, against a people that I have ever seen. You hear periodically reports from the alternate media tell us that people across the sea are laughing at us. From afar, we must look like a laughing stock to have allowed this to happen. We must appear as a laughing stock, weak, unable to control our destiny, begging those that are our slave masters for more sustenance, putting ourselves in a position of being totally and completely dependent upon the very system that enslaved us. Folks, if that isn't pathetic, I don't know what is. So, you're going to have to, make some choices here pretty soon, because the proverbial stuff, no, not stuff, the shit is going to hit the fan real soon, folks. It's coming. Quit being politically correct. Quit worried about offending somebody. Because frankly, I'm offended. I'm offended by every one of you that doesn't have what it takes to get in line and take your best shot at these absolute evil, criminal politicians, attorneys. And when I say bankers, I want to qualify that. I want to qualify it because we're talking about the major players here. I'm not talking about your local bank, your state bank, if it's not under the direct control of the likes of Goldman Sachs or J.P. Morgan or the Federal Reserve. If they're not under their direct control, then they haven't a clue that this is going on. They have bigger fish to fry trying to survive. We have the structure. It is here. We can utilize it. We needn't fear the breakdown. They're breaking it down. Over 50%. 50% of the working public gets its money by sucking on the government teeth. 50%. For the love of God. Where can you find discover
just a second. Hang on.
Media will tell you. Are you frustrated with your elected politicians? Get the news behind the news at truthradio.com. At Truth Radio, you can listen live or listen to a large selection of archived programs on demand. Listen when you want to. Truthradio.com. The truth is out there. All you have to do is open your mind and listen.
All right, just my commercial for one of my stations here, Truth Radio. Been broadcasting on Truth Radio for almost 20 years. The Everything that you've said here is true. Everything is accurate, and the enemy is right there in the city of London. We got three cities, criminal cities, controlled by criminals. The Vatican, who, by the way, were just found guilty. The Vatican, the Church, and the Queen of England were found guilty of genocide with American, Canadian, Indians. Add Mexico and South America to that, and you really got a case of genocide. And they're trying, people are all over the world are trying to step up to the plate here and stop the right people. The city of London, the Queen has to ask permission to enter the bankers' world, the city of London, and I believe the Bar Association has offices right next door because this is all part of the problem. We fought the War of 1812 so the British could destroy the 13th Amendment, the original 13th Amendment, that barred titles of nobility from holding office. Founding fathers do it. It's written in our Constitution. And today we've got lawyers in the House of Representatives, in the Senate, in the executive branch. Of course, all the ones in the executive branch right now have lost their license, had their bar license pulled.
Well, yes, sir. We're just beating up the same stuff we always do. Okay. Yeah, all this is true. We're talking about problems.
So how do we change it? How do we change it? What is Harry Riley going to do that, or is he working? Is he part of the controlled opposition?
Well, let me put it to you this way: whether he's part of the controlled opposition or not, the opportunity is presented for this event to be pulled off. It is there. It's got people talking all over the country about it attending. I want to attend. I do.
I would like to also.
Right now, I've got my plans set so that I will be there on that day. But you know something, folks? It takes a supporting cast, and it takes the ability to motivate some of the French city manipulated and neutered morons out there to pull this off. And to that end, the first step in making this happen is to get as many people as is humanly possible in the alternate media to band together for just a brief moment in time, because it won't take any more than about 10 minutes to get this press release out there. One time, a one-shot deal. It'll have a twofold message. One, it'll show that the alternate media can be used for the purpose of being the mouthpiece of the patriotic movement. And at the same time, the message it delivers will inspire those that haven't heretofore really considered doing anything to get off their asses and be in D.C. for the purpose of removing this absolutely insanely criminal government that is masquerading as our congressmen and senators and executive and judicial branches up there. There are no more branches. The only branch is the switch that the master has to beat you on the ass with. That's it. One branch. Executive. By virtue of emergency powers, and that's the answer. We go up there, we demand. Yes, we bring our written demands, and we don't ask anything. We don't plead anything. We demand. And then we work with the people who are already behind the scenes getting this done. UnionStates.org. I'm going to start now with giving you places to go. UnionStates.org is rearranging the playing field, rearranging the cards, so that we can have a lawful place to begin the restoration of this country. Just like in the beginning, the first thing that was delivered to the people was the Articles of Confederation as a law form. Nothing that was put out there was perfect. But the Articles of Confederation, good place to start. Tell me last, well, why don't you start with the Constitution? Well, I don't start with the Constitution because to do so would be to invite the same problems that were given to us initially right back in. There's a little tweaking that must be done to the Constitution in order to ensure that that which we thought was a great document is and remains so. So it will be revisited. It will be revisited by not a quorum of the states. It will have to be a majority, not even a majority, a unanimous vote only can accomplish what needs to be accomplished. Right now, we're just a couple states shy of the original 13. And anybody within earshot in Delaware, anybody in, I don't know, any of the northeastern states, we need to grow the numbers. But Delaware in particular, that's the missing link for us right now. We recently added Rhode Island and Massachusetts. We already had New Hampshire and New Jersey and New York. Let's see, what else? Connecticut, we got that. North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Virginia. All the better than that.
Well, you know, up on the Free American page, right next to the column that I've got information about my shows, and I've got the notice to all mankind. It's right below the Union States Assembly. I've got the links there. The People's Board of Government Review essay, the call-in numbers of you've got calls lasting 1 to 2 hours, starting 9 p.m. Eastern, and I've got this notice to all mankind, to whom these presents shall come. We, the undersigned delegates of the states, affixed to our names in order to preserve life, liberty, and property, solemnly ordain this declaration. Whereas the Articles of Confederation, ratified March 1st, 1781, created the United States of America, having never been repealed, forming a perpetual union, mandating that all the power not delegated to the state or central government are reserved to the people. And whereas the United States of America has been recognized by treaty and international law from its inception, but has been dormant only because the offices have not been occupied or operated by the people. And whereas each state represented hereunder, having individually restored their lawful republican form of government within their state, and having proper notice to the rest of mankind, in mutual agreement to lawfully occupy the United States of America, recognizing the unanimous declaration of the 13th United States of America, the General Congress assembled July 4th, 1776, and the Articles of Confederation as our founding documents. Therefore, by our hand and seal set below, under the doctrine of necessity, we hereby declare we are peacefully reinstating these law forms that are in harmony with our founding documents, the laws of nature, nature's God, and the law of nations, rejecting all others, regardless of their source. We hereby give lawful notice to all mankind that the United States of America is now officially restored to its original purpose and glory. The rest of the states and territories will join this union as union states as soon as possible under authority previously determined. And this notice was officially received by The Hague on November 29th, 2013. Historically significant, it announces to the world the return of lawful governments and the rule of law to the United States of America. This is what they need to be talking about. This is what Harry Riley needs to be talking about. And I've got this whole document is up on the Free American, the links and the notices about this Operation American Spring with all of the websites are up on the Free American. I am doing exactly what I started out to do 20 years ago, and I'm trying to point the American people. I'm trying to wake them up and point them in the right direction.
Well, point them towards D.C., point them towards the Operation American Spring event, and let them go with one thing in mind, that the declarations and demands of the people must be written and must be delivered to those that are allegedly occupying these seats of power. They are imposters. Those seats remain unoccupied to this day. So there's another website that has information that is going to help. You need to further justify your actions when you go up there. It's called All States Organic Initiative, ASOI.com or .org. No, .us. I'm sorry, ASOI.us. There's a lot of good information there. And one of the things that you'll find on there is a method by which we keep and maintain control of this out-of-control government. It's called Orders of the People. And if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and read this. I have
Go right ahead,
times.
Go right ahead.
Okay. I'll start off with the preamble. It says, by authority of the people of the several states of the American Federation of States known internationally for the past 232 years as the United States of America, doing business as, in all caps, the United States, that is, the corporation. We the people in virtual and actual Congress assembled hereby make and enter these our presence upon the record for all the world to see, and for all of our public servants, officers, agents, and employees to heed, honor, and obey. To each of you who have taken an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the states you inhabit and of the United States, whether you have faithfully done so or not, by assuming the honors and powers of the office you hold, you are bound to honor the oath required. And we intend to hold you accountable to us, as in fact you are. Every legitimate peace officer, sheriff, and all members of the armed forces of these United States, past and present, also including the militias, whether organized or unorganized, will be called upon to enforce these lawful orders. First order. Whereas all authority for any form of lawful governance comes from the consent of the people, it is impossible for the government to become superior in authority to the people who created it. And whereas every state constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, and the Constitution for the United States of America all contain clear language declaring the foregoing to be true, we submit the following excerpts as evidence of this unrebuttable fact. The unanimous Declaration of the 13 United States of America. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles, and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. From the Articles of Confederation, each state retains its sovereignty. Let me say that again. Each state retains its sovereignty, freedom, and independence, and every power, jurisdiction, and right which is not by this Confederation expressly delegated to the United States in Congress assembled. From the Constitution for the United States of America, Bill of Rights, Article 10, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution Well, good.
Whoops, I think I lost you there for a second. What happened here? Oops, I lost somebody here. Let me bring him back here. That one's working, that one's working, that one's working.
Did I drop off?
Yeah, I lost you there. Skype shut down for a second, but I got everything.
Oh.
Everything's back up. So.
At what point did you lose me?
You read this whole document and you were just sounded like you were just about to the end and then you just dropped off.
Huh. Okay.
Probably the last sentence or two.
All right. Let me back it up here to the first order, and I'll repeat that one.
Okay, you got plenty of time. We got 45 minutes here, and I do want to address this call at on Thursday, April 10th. What time? You know, you are perfectly welcome to use my 2 hours here on Blog Talk Radio. If you want to promote that and do it all on that, and then we can send out notice to everybody that we've got on Blog Talk to let them know we're going to do this together. I've got people listening right now all the way over from Ireland, so.
Well, we're going to centralize this, and what I'd like is for everybody to tie into the Constitution Club. And it doesn't. The main thing is that we need to come together, and we need to have a place to come together. It has been determined that is one such, and I've been working with youth brothers to put that together to make this happen. Short of that, I have no problem with being online with several different sites at the same time. No problem whatsoever. It's the message that is more important than anybody's particular interest in this. So I'm looking at 10 o'clock on April the 10th as being the time.
What time?
Where this gets broadcast.
What time?
10 o'clock.
Eastern?
10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That's correct. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well,
so,
you have my show to use whatever you want, however you want. I won't book anybody for Thursday, April 10th. That's all dedicated to you.
Okay.
And I am on. I do work with Keith Brothers. We do have links to the Constitution Club, and I even have some operator access there.
Okay. Well, again, let's work on centralizing the location where it's going to first imminent from, and that would be it. Of course, you're an integral part of this, as you know already, Clayton. I appreciate your patriotism and your ability to see past all of the BS that has been keeping us from banding together, banding as brothers the way we should.
It should, man. We are American. I've even got my new song, I Am an American. I am a rebel. You know, I've got the new theme song up there. Given by one of the people. We've had some wonderful people that some of that I met through you. For this whole last month, especially the last 2 weeks of my show, is very important. We've really gotten a lot of truth out there. There's a lot of people that really want this to happen. We've talked about we've just had on a couple of days ago, one of the organizers with the Operation American Spring, and I've told them they can have. Let me finish off.
Go
right ahead, sir. Go right ahead.
And by the way, the author of this, Stephen Hess, he's a great patriot, and he's a very intelligent man. A man who's he's paid his dues. They put him in the gulag, and his sons. That's how important they thought he was. But let me back up to this people's orders, and I'll pick it up from the first order. Whereas all authority for any form of lawful governance comes from the consent of the people, it is impossible for the government to become superior in authority to the people who created it. And whereas every state constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, and the Constitution for the United States of America all contain clear language declaring the foregoing to be true, consider the following excerpts as evidence of this unrebuttable fact. The unanimous Declaration of the 13 United States. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. From the Articles of Confederation. Article 2. Each state retains its sovereignty, freedom, and independence. Again, each state retains its sovereignty, freedom, and independence, and every power, jurisdiction, and right which is not by this Confederation expressly delegated to the United States in Congress Assembly. And from the Constitution for the United States of America, Bill of Rights. Article 10. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. Therefore, it is hereby ordered, sentenced, and decreed that everyone holding any public office anywhere in these several states or in the United States repent of your arrogance and haughty attitudes, and to cease all actions whereby you presume to hold a superior role to that of the people to whom you owe allegiance, and exhibit a submissive servant's heart. Your job is to protect our rights, not to become a slave of the tyrants. The second order. Whereas the foregoing first order is merely the foundation upon which a lawful government is built, restoring humility and an attitude of service in the minds of those holding public office, especially the ones who come into daily contact with the people, is essential to restoring a constitutional republic. And whereas no government office or officer can manufacture powers for themselves that are not directly bestowed upon them by the Constitution and the laws made in pursuance thereof. And whereas all powers granted to the United States Congress are defined in Article 1, Section 8, the first 16 clauses are commonly known as the enumerated powers because they are specifically identified. The last two clauses, Section 8, identify powers that are exclusive to the United States Congress and cannot be encroached upon by the states because they pertain only to the territorial jurisdiction of the United States. That domain is strictly limited to the area commonly known as the District of Columbia, and small parcels scattered throughout the states and over the seas, but it is not as extensive as we have been led to believe. And whereas that relatively insignificant area is called the Federal Zone, and it comprises several small islands in the Caribbean Sea and Pacific Ocean, besides a few plots of land within the boundaries of the several states, it is a mockery and a sham for United States officers of any description from any branch of the government to impose a haughty attitude towards any of the people. We, the people, are your superiors. Furthermore, for any office or agency of the federal government to insinuate itself outside the federal zone, beyond its lawful jurisdiction, inside the external boundaries of any of the free and independent states that created the United States, constitutes criminal behavior. Therefore, it is hereby ordered, sentenced, and decreed that all federal agents operating within the external boundaries of any of the several states of the Union immediately cease and desist all official activities until such time as it may be determined whether it is lawful for you to continue to function on our soil. Any federal agent whose duties do not conform to the enumerated powers described in Article 1, Section 8, Clauses 1 through 16, found to be presuming to carry out official duties within any of the several states, from this day forward, will be subject to immediate arrest for criminal trespass onto the sovereign territory of the state, and may be subject to articles of treason for attempting to impose a foreign jurisdiction on our land by attempting a forced overthrow of our lawful government. Anyone lawfully inhabiting a state where such an agent is found is hereby authorized to issue a complaint for a warrant of the law to arrest such an individual and place him or her into the custody of the nearest local sheriff. Any such sheriff is hereby ordered to incarcerate such an individual under force of arms if need be, and bind such individual over for a trial by jury according to the rules of common law. It was ordered by the people this 22nd day of the October month 2013. I am a signatory to that. I suggest that if you are listening to this program, however, whenever you get this message, if you go to the All Space Organic Initiative website and add your name to the list of signatories. I would like to bring this with me up to DC and present this in addition to the list of demands that we are going to be taking up there. Anybody and everybody, do it. Be a part of this and make sure that these numbers are of sufficient Sun Tzu style numbers to overwhelm. We have the power. We have always had the power. And it is time for us to use that power to rein in this nightmarish leviathan that is called federal government. It is the United States. It is not the United States of America. Let me repeat that. It is the United States. It is not the United States of America. The United States of America is the lawful form of government that is right now, as we speak, being reformed in the various states across this nation. Attempts have been made at that in the past and have been subverted by the agents of the United States. Yes, that is true. But they have done so in good faith. And the call goes out to them. If you were a member of the former Nation States Project and wish to speak the fruits of your labor, all of the actions that you have taken to restore your lawful government within your state, get with the Union States. We will not allow for the same thing to occur that has happened before. We will not allow those moles to get in and destroy that which we, the people, have so diligently worked to restore. Not going to happen this time. They say 3 times in the charm. Well, it should be, actually it's not more than 3, but for all intents and purposes, this is the short third attempt to do this. We've learned from the mistakes of the others in the past, from the Russos, from the nation states. We've learned. But those states out there that were part of that group that wish to realign yourself with the proper goals in mind, please get with the United States. We have our territory calls on on Wednesday nights, and we have the delegate calls on Monday nights. We have open to new members calls on Friday night. So that information can be found on the unionstates.org website. I strongly suggest everybody that can and has any desire whatsoever to save their families and their progeny, to save this nation, to save themselves, get involved. This is the time. We don't have any more of that left. This is the time. Clayton, as you know, there are many websites out there that speak of the truth. But there are precious few act on the truth. Unionstates.org is the one that's going to act on the truth. And we are reiterating those heretofore not brought forward members of a Delaware delegation to step forward. Step forward. The country needs you. We need you. And there is no more time left to play around. The Leviathan has cranked up the pressure. It is in overdrive. I've been getting wind that there's going to be some breaking news over the weekend that is going to announce a different change, and I'm not going to get into that right now because I don't know if it's actually going to transpire or not. We get all kinds of information out there that this or that's going to happen. I don't know. I don't know. I won't know until it happens. But if it does, it'll be your signal. It'll be your signal that when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you'll need to do before anything else is to grab your gun and go to the front door and look out and see if you see your neighbors out there with their guns. Because if you do, then you know this is the day. This is the day we take it back. And I'm going to yield right there for a minute.
Well, you know, over the years, I've gotten the whole response, well, I just want to stay below the radar. I just don't want to call attention to myself. The time for that is over, you know.
Now, those are selfish thoughts. I just want my cake and I want to be able to eat it too. I want to make more money. I want to do this. I. Individualism is fine in the context of a civil society, but you still, no matter what, if you choose to be a part of the civil society, are going to, in some way, shape, or form, have to be a team player of sorts. If you are a member of a state, if you reside, let me back up. I don't like that word because many of these words have been carefully chosen to ensnare us into the corporate realm. If you inhabit one of the several states, then you are in a different class of person. You are a private person. Almost everything that this out-of-control government does not apply to the private person. It only applies to the corporate fictional person that you find on your Social Security card or on your driver's license. I'm sure that at one point in your life, you have picked up one of those cards and you have looked at that name on there and thought, something odd. Do they not have any lowercase characters on their typewriter? Why would they do that? And the answer? Right in front of your nose. The answer is, the all caps name is your corporate name. It's a fictional name. If by virtue of you using those documents, that's your corporate citizen, a public citizen, and a part of their structure, a part of their corporation, a part of the United States, not the United States of America, but the United States. And the United States is strictly defined as that 10 square miles comprising D.C. Other than the federal territories owned within the external boundaries of the separate states. So, again, that property that they claim jurisdiction over is very, very limited in scope geographically, but it's intensely immense in the scope of its human property. You are that human property. You are the slave. Obama and anyone who occupies that position, Eric Holder, Joe Biden, even though we know that they could be considered puppet masters themselves, are the direct representation of the puppeteers and the focus of all of our ire and condemnation. The first, the absolute first of the treasonous cast of characters must be removed. They are cancer upon this earth, cancer that needs to be excised.
How do you see this developing? If we get 1 million people going into Washington, D.C., and we've had large numbers of people going to Washington, D.C., but they mill around like a herd. They don't have any direction, and we've got very few leaders. Now, maybe Harry Riley will be a leader, maybe, but we had the bonus army back in the 20s or 30s, and they sent the army in to disperse them.
That's correct. Listen, folks, if you know anything about the art of war, as written by the Sun Tzu, one of the things that is of paramount importance is if you decide that you're going to be a part of any such action, you had best be assured that the force that you bring will be an overwhelming force. And 1 million strong, I don't consider it to be an overwhelming force. 1% of the population, 1% is what it would take. But that 1% has one specific purpose: to, en masse, at one time, deliver and demand that these changes be made. Because that 1%, when they leave Washington, D.C., is going to embark on the next phase, which will begin the restoration. It can happen peacefully. It will be angry, but it can happen peacefully, as long as they acquiesce to the people. The servants must acquiesce to the people. We have the power to merely be to wield it. Article 1, Section 8. Take it with you, folks. Get familiar with it. And when you look at it and you read it, you think, for the love of God, How can we get from this, which was to be strange put upon that group, to what we have today? And I'll repeat, federal action has exceeded the clear bounds of its jurisdiction under the Constitution and thus violated rights guaranteed to the people that is treasonous by nature. They need to be held accountable now. Tough time over. People are being arrested. People are being punished. Families are being destroyed. While you sit out there and vacillate and talk and talk and talk. This is plans for action, not for talk. Resolve to be a problem fixer and not a problem discusser. We're through that. We are so over it. We just can't stand it. We've got to restore the states to the people. The prerogatives and freedoms guaranteed them by the Constitution. We've got to do this. It's not an option. And don't tell me you can't afford it. It's not about the money. You have neighbors, you have friends. Come out of your hole, come out of your cave, talk to them, band together. Between you, you'll find the resources necessary to carry yourself up there. And don't forget to bring your anger. I'm not saying bring guns because that's not part of this. We do not want to invite a Ruby Ridge. We do not want to invite any kind of opportunity for a false flag. Lord knows there's going to be plenty of subversive elements there as it is. We will have to be, everyone will have to be on guard and on watch for these people, and they will have to be crushed if they are uncovered immediately. We do not allow for this insipid use of manipulated, neutered morons within that organization to derail or deter our actions. We do not allow it. We cannot allow it. So don't go into guns. No. When you come back to your states, a little different story there. Because along with the demands that are going to be taken up there, symbolically we'll take a little hourglass, set it someplace prominent, turn it over, and tell them this is how much time you have to rectify the problems that we have uncovered. This is how much time. Folks, they're steeped in symbolism. There's nothing wrong with symbolism. There's nothing wrong with carrying the cross. To remind yourself that it is God's way that brought us this nation in the first place. And it will only be God's way that we are able to restore it. And I live with that.
Well, I certainly have my hopes up, and I certainly am willing to put my show, put my time and everything into this, my websites and my magazines. The April issue of the Free American is available, so is the March issue up on my scene. And next issue, we'll be writing about and concentrating a lot of information for...
the call is going out right now. The call is going out. And I'm going to delegate the authority to make the contact with other such broadcast programs and radio shows across the country. I'm putting That's a call out to you and anybody else within earshot. Make this happen. You want it back? Prove it to us that you want it back. Make this happen. Contact the Leslie Duttons. Contact the Gary Franchies. Contact the over-the-air radio podcasts that have some sense of patriotism. Contact the blog talk shows, every one of them. Contact the blogs out there. Make this front and center across the nation. Do something that they don't expect. Come together. Come together. It's the only way we're going to effect this change. The only way. The brain dead. We're brought into this open change stuff.
Now, over the next week, I would like to have Harry Riley on my show, and we've got I've got the 7th, 8th, and 9th open, and the 10th is yours. So, if you've got anybody that
I invite Harry to work with you, and reach out to me. I'm doing this to show support and love for patriotic Americans everywhere.
Well, it's time we recognize that we are Americans, and we don't need any hyphenations. We don't need any, don't matter. The parties aren't important. George Washington was a member of no party, and he founded this country, helped found this country. So we got to just kind of take a change in the way we look at things and realize we really got more power here and work together instead of putting each other down for one difference or another.
If you do that, then you're an agent. An agent for Buck Thurs. Your client. Bottom line, I don't care what you know or think you know about individuals that are involved in this. If you in any way are a part of trying to tear down by putting out information you think is so important, more important than we serve America, you are a provocateur. I don't care who you are. We cannot allow this anymore. Put your foot down, say no more. The internet is alive with all kinds of trolls centered at the tip in the pit of vipers. Centered there for one specific purpose. To subvert any kind of action. Some have been planted early on, and may even be people that you trust within the movement. But when they start trying to tear apart that which has a measure, a degree of success as a possibility, well, guess what? You have just now changed hats and exposed your colors. And I'm tired of making excuses for treasonous acts. I'm tired of making excuses for those that would tear things apart. I'm tired. And you should be too.
I definitely am.
Now, do we have misgivings about any particular individual? Sure. None of us are perfect. You want to tear them apart? Tear them apart. But don't tear the movement apart. And if you start going out there trying to drive a wedge between the people, the movement, and the singers, Well, guess what? You are the problem. You are not part of it. You are not part of any organization, group, or individual that I want you to with. And with that, I will yield. For April 10th, let's get the message out there. And the message is that the time for change is today, and it will start in earnest. In earnest, April 10th. I'll explain how on that day. But the excitement and the enthusiasm must build to a crescendo, resulting in that meeting in D.C. with that one specific goal in mind: to alter or abolish that which is the government, but that which is not a constitutional republic, as we're guaranteed. Time to say goodbye to those folks. Time to say goodbye, and do it now. Anybody, again, within earshot, get with your, anybody you know, the Fred Smarts of the world out there. Andre King, I don't care if you've got a show. Give America 10 minutes of your show, April 10th at 10 o'clock. Give America that chance. Give your family a chance. Your neighbors a chance. Give your grandkids a chance.
People can call into the show. I think Blog Talk will take 40 different people, 40 calls on our switchboard here. So I will be here, you will be here on the 10th, and you've heard the call. You've heard the call. All of the documentation, all of the links, the banners for Operation American Spring are all up on my website. We got a month to put this together. I'd like to go too. I'd like to go too. And I could go if we get a little bit of support here. If some people buy the magazines, I put the first 10 issues of the Free American that I worked on to reestablish. Those are up free on my website. Actually, the first 11 issues.
Regardless of whether or not you get that kind of response, if we do what we're talking about right now, there will be a train coming through your area, and I suggest you hop on it, because it's going to be loaded down with people just like you and me.
Well, just had Pastor Wiley Drake from California talking about that train. There is, and if it comes anywhere close, you know, I'm almost isolated right now. I really can't drive anywhere. I've been getting some help on driving and all that.
Don't worry about it. We'll make arrangements. Nobody that wants to come will be left behind. Nobody. It's a matter of numbers. It's a matter of voice. It's a matter of intensity. It's a matter of desire. We are only limited by our own imagination. Whatever we can conceive, we can achieve. And I conceive for America. And those that are listening to you, there's little doubt in my mind that they don't share exactly that sentiment.
I have devoted my life to that. I still am. And if you don't mind, I'm going to play a little exit tune here. We got about 6 minutes.
I am a rebel. I am American. I can. I am a rebel. I am a minute man. And I will always fight for God and right. That's where I stand. My evolution is revolution. I was born with a revolution. I'm a farmer. I am a soldier. I just want to be free. Go next with me. See that I'm unfoldable. I am a rebel. I am American. And when it needs to be, wait and see. You know I can. There is no enemy that is too strong for me. I'm Georgia, search of Marcus, work my way to victory. A son of Washington, daughter of Jefferson. And though I always seek the way of peace, declare my gun. I'm not afraid to fight for all the fear and right. And if you tread on me, then you will see an awesome night. I am a rebel. I am American. And when it needs to be, wait and see. You know I can. I fight for liberty. Against all tyranny. And foreign lands are close at hand. These are my enemies. The garden side. The human right. In God we trust. It isn't just our future's right. Don't want a handout. That's not what it's about. Just want a chance to see what liberty can do for me. And now I stand on hallowed land. No going back, we will attack lines in the sand. Cause I'm a rebel. I am American. And when it needs to be, wait and see. You know I can. 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 You know I can.
Carl, thank you for being on with me today. Folks, pass this show on. Tremendous amount of information and inspiration in this show today. We can do this. We can make a difference. We can work together. Don't let them divide and conquer anymore. That's enough of this.
One last thing.
Yes, sir. Go.
White, black, yellow, all are part of this. And a special reach out to the Indian nations. The reformation that is occurring with a special emphasis on those sovereign Indian nations. Restoration of your land, where possible, is one of our goals.
Absolutely. And that's the whole background, the whole model for my Liberty Village concept, libertyvillages.org. God bless you.
The whole concept for America. The long buildings, I forgot what they call them, the long buildings. All the Constitution was based on the Indian.
Iroquois, thank you. God bless you all. We're out of time here.
What's going on in the world? Let's demonstrate.